Hi, this is John Hawkins Jr. with Gateway Counseling. I am a trauma and addiction specialist, peak performance coach, couples therapist. We are a counseling center here in Boynton Beach, Florida, where we do individual, couple, family therapy for all your mental health issues, relational issues, emotional, spiritual issues, everything. We have a mission here that we want to reach as many people as we possibly can, every way we can. Over the years as a therapist, I've found that a lot of the information I give people in those first couple sessions, despite them having gone through years of therapy, they were saying they'd never heard it. And I was kind of shocked. And so we wanted to start providing an outlet where people could get accurate information about a variety of, issues that people struggle with, that we work with people all the time. So we do, all kinds of resources, whether it's public speaking events, social media. We said we just want to have as big an impact and help as many people as we can. So you can be a part of helping us help as many people as we can by sharing information, things you find useful or beneficial on these Tuesday Night Lives. We do it every Tuesday night, 8:15 here on Facebook. They replay on Facebook. They go on our YouTube channel. So you can refer people to them if you feel like that, they could be a help to them, and then you can help us help other people. So tonight, or let me say real quick, you can reach me throughout the week at johnh@gatewaycounseling.com, where I'll answer any questions. You don't have to wait till Tuesday night, or you can ask me questions on Tuesdays while I'm doing the Facebook Live, where I'll speak to a different topic every week or respond to those questions. I have an interesting topic tonight I want to get into where this comes up, and I'm as a trauma specialist. Hi, son, thank you. Where a lot of times things will come up in trauma processing where people's statements to me will be like, am I making this up? Did this really happen? They might see images or fragments of memory that they're seeing it for the first time, or maybe they had thought about it really sketchy in the background, but they're like, I don't know, like, so there's topic of false memories. And, this was a big thing in the late 80s, early 90s, where there was a lot of these cases where people had gone to see therapists like myself to work on their traumas, and they had these memories that would come off of being sexually abused by parents or different things like that. And on one hand, as a trauma specialist, I can tell you, sexual trauma is rampant. So much of it, it's unbelievable. We need to talk more about it, bring it out to the light, expose it, rid our society of it, because it takes place within families and close relationships. People, you'd be shocked. But these therapists, then where people were filing charges against these parents and all these kind of things, and later it came out that they were completely false memories constructed. And in I think all these cases that I know of, the therapist was very influential in feeding information to the client or telling them certain things that contribute to that. The brain can construct a lot of things, image-wise and things like that. And so it became a very controversial topic, and I don't think it's as prevalent today because, what happens, a lot of these clients turned around, and once they were able to really kind of discover the truth again and how they've been influenced by these specific therapists, they sued and all these things, and they realized that none of these things had ever happened. Now, I would really say with caution, on the flip side, a lot of people who have been abused sexually or physically or different types of abuse in childhood were invalidated, dismissed. When I'm talking about these false memory things, these things are in my experience, very rare. So the majority of clients I work with, when they start thinking, gosh, did this happen? One, I'm very calm. We go very slow. I don't influence them. I don't tell them anything. I don't feed them information. Most of my cases, those things did happen. And so the danger is if people start feeling like themselves or other people they know, well, that couldn't have happened, or that's a false memory. I would say in the majority of cases, that's not the case. It did happen. So one of the things that drives me crazy is when I hear about a family member of my clients or my client's previous experience where a therapist starts to say, well, I think you were sexually abused, or I think you must experience, and it starts to feed. I never say anything like that. I'm just going slow with the client's experience. I'm not influencing anyway. What I say is like, look, we'll take this very slow. That's where everybody's brain goes immediately when they start having floods of emotion or anxiety or getting weird images and things like that. It's like, oh my gosh, I think I was sick, And I said that could come from 1,000 different things. We will get the pieces a little at a time. In almost every case I can think of, we get all the pieces, you get conclusive evidence one way or the other. And again, I'm doing nothing to influence you as a client and put thoughts or images or ideas in your head or suspicions. I might have a thought in my head, but I'm not going to share that. I'm going to wait till we get all those pieces. But like I said, so on one hand, you don't want to be overly influenced by anyone. On the other hand, this is such a minority of situations where in almost every case for me, when somebody says, maybe I'm making this up, it turns out that it happened. And again, it doesn't need to be historically correct, or it's not even as important to me whether it's factual. It's more about what it's creating emotionally, internally for the person that needs to get cleared and released. And so I tell them, not to worry about that. We just want to process whatever's coming up for you emotionally and internally. And as you do that, you tend to get, like I said, all the pieces eventually that let you, there's a lot of factors and things like that let you know whether something occurred or it didn't. As you keep working through it, like I said, almost every case you get all those pieces. So, this is a topic I think is important to bring up and talk about you tonight, but I think also I want to be very cautious and thoughtful in the way I talk about it. So the majority of things over here, in my experience, it did happen in some form, even if it wasn't completely like the images that are coming up. But it's enough where you can connect to the emotions and release those and process those, heal from them. Where over here, this can happen, but you really want to be cautious about who you're working with isn't being overly influential to you, So the brain, what happens is the reason you don't remember in the first place is I talk about this in numerous videos, especially on trauma and PTSD. When we have overwhelming experience emotionally, it will split off. If that energy will cause damage to our brain, emotions, adrenaline, it's chemical, electrical energy that reacts. It'll damage cells and cause nerve damage and all that stuff in the brain. So the brain, through different nerves will trigger a behavior, either to reach for connection, what we call secure attachment, to somebody help me emotionally, physically, fight or flight, or when neither one of those are available or effective for the scenario, our last line of defense in our lowest part of our brain, we call disassociation. So like a circuit breaker, it will split off what I can't handle. And so the more intense the experience, the farther it's going to get split. So it can get to, where you do remember and feel it. You remember, but you don't really feel it, which sometimes can feel like it didn't really affect me. You kind of remember, but it's really foggy, you're not sure, or you have no memory at all. So like some of my trauma clients, you'll have, I remember right to here, and then I start remembering here, and there's a gap in between. So it's always there somewhere, but it's kind of in its separate compartment or separate memory network. And as you're working through stuff, to heal from trauma, I'm helping to get connected and then release this energy and reintegrate this stuff. So sometimes it's the event itself and the intensity of it. Other time it can be something that threatens your identity or sense of self. Maybe somebody has a violent thought or a sexual thought early in life, or an anti spiritual thought, like it really contradicts with the rest of their religious views, and so it's threatening to their sense of reality or self, and so they block that over there, and it can bring up a lot of panic and anxiety getting connected to that. Like let's say somebody was abusive, a sibling, a parent in some way real early in your childhood, but then they changed and became somebody different, and so to think of them in this way would really threaten your view of them, which especially for a child or young adolescent can be very destabilizing. So your brain dissociates and blocks that out, so I don't remember that aspect of my experience. But it will show up in other ways that you don't make a direct link. So the thing is, when you're working with all this stuff, if you're working with somebody like myself, specialized in trauma, you want to make sure they go very slow. They're not influencing you. They're not jumping to conclusions. They're also listening and believing, because a lot of my clients will have, comments like, I didn't think you would believe me, or, maybe they got really shut down by a lot of different family members. Like that never happened, or they get turned against and attack because it would threaten the whole family if the truth came out about what happened. So there's a lot of pressure and attack sometimes for my client or the person who went through these experiences that, it's going to create a big turmoil if this truth comes out, and then it can cause a lot of self-doubt too. Maybe I'm making it up. Maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe it wasn't as bad as that. And so, like I said, slow, thoughtful, and one of the things you can do is if you start working with somebody like myself is ask them questions. How do you feel about, false memories, or what do you think about that? Again, my experience is in almost every situation that I work with, when somebody starts to get connected to those memories or see images or things, there's some validity there. There's something that's coming up that did occur, but again, going real slow and getting the pieces. This is a very, very small thing. Now, sometimes the brain will create dreamlike images to connect to something emotionally. And, that's the thing I would tell the clients, like, don't worry about it being factual or anything like that, but there's something important that's coming up emotionally we want to release, and then we'll see what happens from that point. So I know this could be a topic that maybe provokes a lot of thoughts or questions that you have, and I don't, hopefully I answered as many of them as possible from my experience. But if there's, questions you have, by all means, email me at johnh@gatewaycounseling.com throughout the week, because I know this is a controversial topic and a complex topic. So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have. If you want to come in and see me and set up a session where we could do some work and see maybe there's some repressed things. I mean, I've had things in my own therapy, working with multiple therapists, where stuff came up that I really wasn't aware of. Sometimes it wasn't even, maybe sometimes I was aware of, but it was, you just really didn't realize how much it impacted you, or how much emotion or how much intensity got split off and disassociated, which I'm telling you is like, so all of us have, on a scale of 1 to 10, some stuff on that scale, but like, again, the more you got traumatized, the more intense that was, the farther that split off, And memories, I mean, the brain will fill in the gaps too sometimes, or bleed things together. That's like for me in therapy, it's not as important that you get every detail factually. It's just the overall gist of how it affected me emotionally. So you don't need to remember to be able to heal. You can, we can activate things in your body, release those. Again, sometimes those explicit memory comes. Sometimes you get things that were very young, like what we call pre-verbal, from in utero to birth, to like 18 months, 2 years old, where you don't have a lot of conscious memories or images, but the memories are all in the body, and you can still clear all that stuff. So don't worry if you can't remember. The majority of my clients come in here, probably 80% of them, and say, I don't remember a whole lot of my childhood, it's kind of foggy. And that's an indication there's some forms of disassociation going on. And you don't have to have trauma and abuse to dissociate. It can be just an emotion that felt overwhelming to me. So I hope you found that helpful. Again, email me, ask me questions next week, because I know it is a complex topic. If you have anybody that you feel this could benefit from, or yourself, like I said, forward the information on. Be here next Tuesday night, 8:15. You can check us out on our YouTube channel, Gateway Counseling, on Facebook, Gateway Counseling Center, and the Mind Zone group, where, some maybe a topic you guys talk amongst yourselves on, and I'll check on that and see what kind of questions are coming up. All right, have a great week. Continue to stay safe, and I'll see you guys next Tuesday.